Hello and welcome to the final weekend of regular season spring action. We sent Kobe off to the LEC, so today I'm joined by Kadril, Mark Z, and Alora for a lineup so good it should be illegal. And gents, I'm already bracing myself for the confusion that's going to arise every time I say the name Mark, and both of you try and jump in to answer me. But I have faith that we'll be able to fumble our way through it. Kadril, how you doing today? It's so great to have you here on the LCS with us.
Yeah, it's gonna be a banger. I mean, it's almost midnight here in Europe, but I'm full of energy, dude. I'm gonna be going till 6 a.m. You know me, I'm always here.
You have neighbors that you need to like whisper for come like 2 o'clock in the morning. You can't be popping off about the games.
No, my flat's actually quite distant from the neighbors, so I can scream as loud as I want, baby.
Now, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Hopefully the games are exciting enough to keep us going that late into the evening. We've got new talent. It's a new week. It's a new patch right off the top. Let's take a look at patch 11.5 because, Kadril, we got some nerfs rolling in.
We got some nerfs rolling, and the biggest one is to Azir. I think this champ is now almost the lowest win rate champ in solo queue right now. It got a W nerfed. I mean, attack speed and AP are the best scaling things into the late game. That's why Azir was the best kind of blind pick mid next to Syndra or Orianna, who are burst mages. But Azir is quite nerfed. I think it's almost off the table now in pro play especially, but in solo queue it's kind of dead. Top lane Gragas also got nerfed in a way where his Q cost on the mana has gone up, which means his lane phase is a lot harder. It might not be too far out the meta, but I think it's been a lot difficult to kind of blind pick this champ and go even in lane because obviously with mana pool issues, it's going to be hard to clear out waves. And then the last nerf is onto Rel. Now Rel I think is the most broken support in the game. Support diff is jungle diff, mid diff, AD diff, top diff. It's the most broken role. Rel is a first pick champ, and this champ got nerfed on his cooldowns, but it does absolutely nothing. It's busted. Please, right, just nerf it.
Champion so busted, it affects every lane simultaneously. Alora, I'm also curious your take on the Gragas nerfs, because not only have we seen it topside here in the LCS, but Cloud9, one of the teams that's particularly willing to flex it into the jungle as well.
Well, like Kadril said, I think the Gragas nerf will affect top a little bit more than jungle because you have the mana regeneration from your jungle item when you're playing in jungle. For top, if you are facing a rough matchup, the mana increase on Q is going to make farming a little bit harder, and he's going to go in quicker before he can get that tier. But I think once he gets the tier, the lane phase will be a little bit, probably about the same as it was before, and Gragas will remain a safe pick for the rest of the split.
Well, so if Gragas has taken a small step back, though, Lauren, what other champions are you looking for to maybe be opened up to in the meta?
All right, this is the third or fourth week in a row I've been talking about it, and I'm going to keep talking about it until people pick it. The Karma. I was gassing it up on 11.4, and only it was picked maybe once or twice, and mainly by C9. They use it as a flex pick in draft, but both times it has gone to fudge. I think Karma is so good right now because so many LCS teams are playing for kind of just an all-in ball comp where your goal is to have good team fights. And when Seraphine is the main kind of enchanter right now for this team fight comps, Karma is probably the second best that you can get at that. And on top of that, Karma is flexed to 3 separate lanes. So you can pick her early on and drag her all the way to the end of the draft and get a huge advantage just based on that. Someone please start picking Karma before, because I'm a broken record here on the broadcast. I've said it so many times.
Yeah, I think Karma's like a triple flex champ. I mean, G2 already pulled it off with the Karma top into Sion. It did work out, I would say, especially if you have like bruiser jungles like the Hecarim and AD carry that's ahead. Karma definitely is a really good flex pick, goes into 3 roles and fits every playstyle that you kind of need.
Well, you heard it, LCS team. Save our ears from Alorum trying to push this champion anymore by picking it in the draft. Let's get a quick refresher of our standings heading into the week. We've got Cloud9 still sitting in first, though they are now only 1 win above Dignitas and TSM, who are together in second place. 100 Thieves, Team Liquid, they're right behind them in fourth, with Evil Geniuses coming in sixth. That will round out the spring playoff picture at the moment. We've got a whole day of games ahead of us, though, starting with Cloud9 taking on CLG. An all-important matchup for Cloud9's place in playoffs, followed by Evil Geniuses facing off against TSM, 100 Thieves going head-to-head with Immortals, and even more action until we finish up our day with Golden Guardians facing FlyQuest. Now, before we get into any of the happenings on the Rift, Kadril, I believe there's some business that you would like to conduct here on the desk today. Am I right?
Yeah, I've come across the whole ocean, and I'm here to do some business transaction with you guys because you've stolen our players, and I hate it because they were one of our best players. So I'm going to start off with the best Western player that Europe's almost ever seen, arguably, in Perks. Now, I've been thinking about what I want to trade back because obviously I think 1 player wouldn't be enough to get Perks back. I'll give you 2, and I'm going to give you guys Limit and Broken Blade. 2 players from Schalke. Broken Blade obviously did have his time in NA. Limit, one of the best sports we've got in Europe. What do you think, guys? I'll take Perks back for the
not that big on recycling here. I mean, we like bright new shiny toys in America, you know, in the NALCS. So I think we're gonna. I would pass on this. I'm keeping my bright new perks, top of the line model, just imported. You know,
even trade, man. Perks for TSM Reckless. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
that's the thinker right there.
Wait, so you're docking him?
Okay.
You're docking him because Broken Blade's already been in the LCS, Mark?
Yes, 100%.
I love it.
But
I love
Limit,
it.
but Limit is arguably somewhat new. So there's a little bit
Limit
of a
would
shiny
be.
toe there. He's got a little bit of rust on him, but he's kind of new.
All right. Well, it sounds like a flat rejection there. Not even
All right.
not even a willingness
fine.
to negotiate on the first trade on the board. What else you got for us?
I got more. Alfari. Okay, let's be honest. He's the best top in NA. You can see it from his stats. He's smashing everyone. He was one of the best tops in EU as well. Yes, he finished 10th place in summer, but he's insanely good. So I'll give you Treats back, who's popping off in Europe, one of the best supports, and I'll give you Cries, who Bwipo said on the Euphoria episode that he's actually the 4th best top laner he thinks in the EULs in the LEC. Is that a good deal? We'll take Alfari back for a top laner who's quite nice and shiny, and Treats, who's popping off.
Well, now we know where Mark already stands. You put treats in the deal, so I feel
thinking
like
about
Mark's
this. It's
off the
almost the
table
same
already, but
deal.
maybe GM Alorum will hop on this one.
I gotta agree with Mark. You know, we've already seen Treats here in NA. We've got ADHD. We can't keep the same players. We got to keep switching them out. I'm going no deal, but I will trade top laner for top laner. I want Bwipo to come to NA. I want to see how he does.
Nice.
over here.
Okay, how about that counter? A Bwipo for Alfari, a straight up trade, Alorum.
No.
Nope.
No.
No.
Wait, do you want one?
Guys.
Winder instead?
No, guys, Treats is almost the 3rd best support in Europe right now. 4th, he's clutching games. NA was holding him back.
I actually
Take
agree
me back
with you
with it, trust me.
100%. I agree that he was done dirty a little bit by TSM in that role swapping situation, which is probably why it's better that you hold on to him over there and give him the opportunity he deserves.
Okay. I've got a couple more.
Okay.
Now, Sven's been in A for a while, but he was one of the best ADs when he was back here. So I'll give you 2 arguable rookies in the LEC, Skeens and Hirit. Hirit, one of the best performing top laners in the league. Skeens, he's been super high in solo queue for many, many seasons. He's always hyped up to be a good jungler, especially in scrims. Yes, on stage it hasn't translated too much, and Vitality is 9th, 8th. But for Sven back, is it a good deal? Are we taking that one?
I think it's a good trade. Because also C9 can move up King to the LCS, which I've been wanting to see for a long time. I'm willing to take this one.
Okay.
The only problem is, I bet most of Twitch chat right now in the North American audience has no idea who those 2 players are, and so they're immediately gonna gut check say no. But it feels weird because C9 is doing so well right now. You know, like I'm gonna blow up C9.
Just-
Put King.
Just so you know, look at Sven's CSD at 15. Do you see that?
That is nutty.
It's
I
insane.
actually
Sure you wanna-
didn't
sure you wanna
think
give that
it
away?
high.
Actually, what am I saying? I'm getting Sven back. Yeah, it's a good
I was
deal.
like, wait, you
Shake on
argued
it.
yourself.
Shake on it. Shake on it.
Hold on.
I love Sven. Don't get me wrong, but you know he was better. I mean, and maybe he wasn't better as Niels, but he was also very good in EU, right? And like I said, I'm a King fanboy, so I would love to see King going up.
All right, our first accepted trade of the evening here is a 2 for 1 for Sven. So congratulations, Sven. You're heading back to Europe.
That's what I came here for. I came to get him back. Okay, that's one. I got one more proposal. I'll
All
take
right, what do
Power
you got?
People back,
Oh,
and I'll give you VTO, which is a rookie mid for Misfits, and Genax, who recently role swapped to top lane and is doing really well in SK. SK around 5th place right now. They're probably going to make playoffs, so you've got a playoffs contending top laner there, and VTO, who's fighting for playoffs, who's a rookie mid, looking pretty good.
Thoughts, guys?
rough. I don't know. I like PoE a lot.
I don't know if
but it's
any.
ours. You
I don't know if
stole
any
him.
of you saw the Misfits game from today, but VTO on that Silas
got a
really
lot of
impressed
fans right
me
now.
individually
He
in
popped
that
off.
performance. So I'm just gonna say that, especially when it was a pressure game. They're racing for the playoff picture right now. You want a pressure player who can pop off. VTO might be the next Bjergsen.
Yeah.
This might be what I'm more interested in because I feel like, especially the EU mids, man, like that's the thing that always gets me excited to see who's like the new hot young player coming over. I mean, we took Niski for a little bit. He went back. You know, there's been a little bit more movement with the mid laners. I think this is the one. If you're going to get me on any of them, this is the trade.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So two
so
for four.
2-2. Okay.
Okay, yeah, 2 out of the 4
yeah.
trades.
Yeah, I like it.
Come through. I like to hear that. All right, and one goes to Alorum, one goes to Mark. All right, well, now that we've got the trade talk out of the way, we're nearing the end of spring. Our postseason picture isn't quite as clear as we thought last week when Cloud9 still seemed untouchable. With only 1 week in the games left until our midseason showdown, I want to dig in on some of those top teams and what exactly y'all think of each of them. So, Mark, let's start with you and Team Liquid, a team that had high expectations and hasn't lived up to them.
Yeah, they've been struggling a lot during the regular season, and I think this is actually a great week to put a lot of those concerns behind them. They're going up against 3 teams that are currently slotted to finish in the playoffs, and so if you were able to go 3-0 for the first time this split, which they were supposed to do last week before they choked the CLG game, but if they're able to go 3-0 this week against teams that they're probably going to potentially be facing in playoffs, it goes a long way to kind of reassuring fans' minds and cementing themselves back on where we expect them to be as arguably the best team in North America, given their placement in the lock-in tournament.
Now, here's my next question for you, Mark. When you compare this team to last year's Team Liquid, again, so much of the offseason conversation was straight upgrade, right? Where do you find or where do you feel this team really differs from last year's version of TL, both maybe in how they're over-indexing or under-indexing?
I think that they had probably a little bit more simple of a playstyle last split. Because they had impact predominantly on weak side. They mostly just played through their bot lane. I think there were games where, they tried to experiment with their top side counter pick and it didn't work out. I mean, even the first game of the split when they had the revenge counter pick on the Aurelia and, Alfari ended up getting killed a couple times. Like, I think integrating multiple playstyles has been a little bit part of their struggle this split, as well as just some individual underperformances. Tactical absolutely dominated summer, and he's been struggling a little bit more here.
Well, you mentioned the schedule that they have in front of them, Alorum. The next team I want to talk about is their opponents today, Dignitas.
All right, so Dig, a little bit of a tough schedule. They're playing against TL and C9, which they have lost to before, but Dignitas has improved a lot over the split, and I think they've proved to the fans that they can be consistent. At the beginning, everybody's seeing this Dignitas roster, and they're going like, man, 5NA can't win. But they've proved the consistency. They've proved that they can keep wins, and they have not thrown their lead in this split, and they're sitting pretty comfortably. The question now is, now that they're against TL, it's going to be a rough matchup, but if they can win this, then I think that's proof that they deserve that top-tier spot in the LCS, specifically the top 2. And against C9, if they can beat the #1 team, then wow, like, Dignitas is just really on a roll. As for the FlyQuest thing, I think they've got it in the bag. FlyQuest have had a lot of issues, particularly with solo lanes, and the Dignitas solo lanes have been really popping off.
Well, they win those first 2 like you're talking about, and they're in a fight for first place quite possibly by the end of the week, and that would be pretty wild. Speaking of which, that leaves us with Cloud9, Kadril. So I'm curious your take on the team that was dominating the split for us, but took a step back just last week.
Yeah, Cloud9's an interesting team. They're facing off against CLG, Dignitas, and Immortals, so it's not really like a thing where you can say, well, they're against a top team. Yes, Dignitas is around the top of the standings. There's a lot of question marks as to how good Dignitas is. We'll have to see how that game progresses. But C9, to me, I feel like they have a big weakness, and the biggest weakness I've found in C9 after watching their games was the fact that they're 7-1 on blue side, but they're actually 4-3 on red side. Which, yes, blue side is more OP, but when you only have 4 losses and 3 of them are on red, it kind of stands out a little bit more. And I think the reason I attribute that to is because if you look at their game against TSM, for example, they're last picking a control mage into a control mage. They're blind picking top, which is a carry when you have Caitlyn Morgana. So I feel like what they're doing is they're putting their hand in too many baskets, giving Fudge carries. And I think that the team itself just functions better when it plays through bot. Now, that doesn't mean that Fudge is a bad carry player. I think he's just a really good weak side player, and Blabber is really good at playing through bot. And if you look at C9 CS differentials across the board, in mid, in bot, they're smashing their lanes. So Fudge just has to be the player that kind of slots in and does his job. And basically, if you look at pro players across the world as the best players, you can look at Deshai and Rookie, for example, in Worlds just popping off, and you attribute them to success because they play so well. But if you look at players like Crown, who have actually won Worlds, he just did his job. He picked Malzahar. He did what the team needed. I think that's what Fudge needs to do in C9. I think he needs to just play this weak side, embrace it a bit, step up to the par, pick things like the Malphite, like the Gragas, like he's been doing, and let Sven and Perks do the work with Blabber playing through bot, soak up the pressure, and just be useful in fights. Because when you play things like Gnar and you're on a split map and you're behind, it's so hard to have impact because your team lacks frontline.
Well, then while the stats don't look entirely pretty on the red side, it at least sounds like a somewhat quote-unquote simple fix if it just comes from the drafts, the draft phase and getting the players onto the proper picks. We are going to step away for a moment. On the other side, it's the return of the weekly wager. We'll see you here. Hello and welcome back to the LCS Countdown. For the final week of the regular season, we decided to bring back our weekly wager, just in time for our friend Cadril here to face off against our very own Mark Z. It's a classic battle of EU versus NA, which is why we're taking it to some LEC versus LCS trivia to determine a winner. Whoever reigns supreme in trivia will get first dibs on a couple of prop bets that we have set up for game one. But first, trivia. I'll be asking the questions. Alorum is on the abacus to keep track of time and score. You got that abacus, my friend?
I got it.
There
right
it
here.
is.
And even labeled for the viewers.
Only the most official here at the LCS. All right, and of course, our resident Marks will be taken to task with some brain-bending regional queries. Mark with a C, Mark with a Z. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right, guests go first, of course. So, Cadril, tell me, what player has played the most LCS games all time?
Wild Turtle?
That is correct. It is Wild Turtle.
That's one.
Very well done. Okay. This is already starting to.
I'm panicking already, James. I'm not even get any.
Okay. All right. That's 1 point on the board. Mark Z, tell me who has the most titles in LEC history? Player.
I'm pretty sure it's Perks.
Is that a final answer?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, well, you said I'm pretty sure, and then, so you kind of couched it there. You are correct. It is Perks with 8
My God.
LEC titles. That is absurd.
That is
And
ridiculous.
And you wanted us to trade him back. Yeah, okay.
he might be on his way to one here in the LCS
Don't forget
as
World
well.
Finals, many World Semifinals, one MSI.
MSI championship.
I know.
He's got an impressive resume.
My God. Okay, next up, we have Cadril. Who has the highest KDA in the LCS this spring?
It's probably an 80 carry, right? But tactical got caught out a lot. I want to say tactical. No, it's not tactical. Maybe Sven? Or maybe Sven?
Is that a final answer?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. You were correct on the position, but it is in fact Neo of Dignitas.
yeah, that's
sporting
That guy went like 20 and 1
6.5.
on Callisto and stuff like this. Oh, he was so good.
Absolutely.
Who wouldn't
Neo,
know that? Superstar Neo is obviously leading the league.
That's my
Cadril,
boy,
come
Neo.
on.
Neo has been popping off so far this spring. All right, so we're still here locked at 1-1. Mark Z, name the only player that has won both an EU and NA title.
Sven, right? Sven?
You got to stop answering with questions. Answer with statements.
I like being very uncertain to just throw you for a loop. Yeah, it's Sven. It's Sven. Easy.
You are correct. It is Sven.
That's not an EU
Cloud9.
question.
Yeah.
That's not an EU question.
I call
That one's too
no.
easy. That one's
Where's the
was-
referee?
all
Where's
right,
the referee?
so-
Where's the referee?
All right. Well, you know who the referee is? The referee is the person who came up with these questions, which is the LEC writer. So you have to take it up with your own team for submitting these questions, Cadril, as they might be working against you.
Okay.
We had the
I'm
LEC.
getting
We had the LEC team build the LEC questions. We had the
You're
LCS
getting hinted.
team.
They wanna
build
see you
the
lose.
LCS questions.
Okay.
All
okay,
right.
fine. Winnable.
Next up. All right. Where am I? I've totally lost my spot. Okay, Mark with a C. Tell me who has the most solo kills in the LCS this spring. There are 2 that are tied, so you can give me either.
Can I
player.
get 2 points? Oh, okay, never mind.
Interesting.
I'll give him that.
Actually,
if
you
he
know
gets
what?
both.
If you get both, you get 2
But
points.
it's
He
not
needs
double or
it.
nothing. Okay, if I get 1, I still get 1 point, right?
That's fine. Yeah, we're not going to double or nothing you.
Okay, I'm gonna say Alfari and Perks.
Alfari and Perks. You got one correct with Perks.
Okay, thank
He is tied
I'll
with
take it.
Jizuke, actually, for solo kills, both of them at 8 here. But he adds another point on the board to even it up. So back over to you, Mark Z. Complete the saying. Death, taxes, and which 2 teams in the LEC finals?
G2 Fnatic.
Oh, man.
You can
that's
thank
so
Cadril
easy.
for giving you the answer to that one just before the show started.
I mean,
That
I
is
feel like
correct.
Question.
these are layups. I feel like I'm dunking on
This
a
is a
kitty-sized
scam.
hoop right now.
This is a scam.
Take it up with Evan, my friend. Take it up with Evan. All right,
Evan!
next up. Where's the next question? Here we go. What team has the best Baron percent in the LCS this season?
What do you mean by best Baron percentage? Like they use the Baron the best, or they have the highest Baron taking percentage?
Highest Baron taking percentage.
It's probably a top team. Just C9, just flip it. Yeah, just go C9.
You want to phone a friend? I can give you my answer.
Yeah. Ring. Hey, Mark C.
I would say it's TSM because I'm pretty sure we covered this last week on one of our segments.
No, I feel like you're scamming me here a bit.
You don't trust me.
What, you're my competitor, man. Are you crazy?
I know this is a tough spot to be in. So are we locking in the Cloud9 or are we flopping over to TSM?
Yeah, let's go TSM. If he's betrayed me, then he doesn't deserve to win anyway.
Glory be to Mark Z. It is TSM.
Yes,
with 77.3% of Barons taken in their games this
What kind of
split.
scumbag would I be to give you the wrong answer?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's your
that
opponent,
would've been-
man.
You
You're
create
pitying
some
him.
serious enemies. All right. So to bring it home, Mark, if you get this one, I believe you take the lead here and close it all out. Mark Z, if you need advice on when to pay your taxes in the LEC, where or to whom do you go? I wonder
What?
if Kadril knows.
Is there some Berlin agency I need to know? Like, this is a total whiff on a meme that I'm sure I'm just not in on. I have no clue what this is.
Do you know it, Kadril?
I do know it.
Okay, Mark, do you want to throw out an answer?
Well, he was just pointing up at State Farm. I don't know.
I just put the hand
I
up.
was like,
No, he's just raising his hand. He's just
Oh, I
raising
thought he was
his
trying to
hand.
like gesture like some kind of
he's
like
not trying to
State
get
Farm
you a hint.
meme. I was.
All right. Well,
don't
Mark,
know.
if you don't
Maybe you
have an
can-
answer, I'm
I
going to
can give you a
let
tip.
Kadril.
I'll give him a tip. Look, I'm
Okay.
not just gonna. He called
Okay.
a friend. He saved me. I would have lost this regardless. So I'll give you a tip. Phone a friend is not very fair. I'll give you a tip. Astralis. But that's not the answer. But that's a very big clue.
Dude, I don't know.
I'm
Deficio.
lost.
It's just like.
Oh, it's in Misfits, man.
All right, Kadril, would you like to give us the answer? You'll be awarded the point, Kadril, if you get this correct.
It's Zanzara, Marks. The meme.
There it is. Zanzara is the answer. Put another
Are we
point
really
in that
counting that
column
one?
right
All
there.
I get the point.
Yeah,
Is he really gonna point there?
somebody's got to win. So
You can win.
take
dude. I don't
those.
know. All
You
right.
take those.
Somebody's got to win, and to be honest, we didn't plan for a tie. So I'm awarding the point to Mark with a C here. You're welcome.
State
This was
Farm.
Oh
rigged.
my goodness. All right. Congratulations on that trivia victory. With our trivia champion crowned, it is time to get down to the betting bit of our weekly wager. Since Mark with a C won the trivia challenge, he gets first dibs on the first bet, with the other Mark, of course, taking the other side of the bet automatically. I should also mention that whoever gets the most bets correct is spared from having to do an analyst desk with a mouthful of marshmallows after the first game, a la Chubby Bunny. So tell me, victorious Mark, who do you think gets first blood in our first match between C9 and CLG?
C9.
Pepe Lappy
Really?
doesn't know CLG First Blood Kings.
He's I mean, they did drop their first blood last week, so the question is the streak really dead, or will they return to first blood dominance? But he's made the call. He's going with Cloud9, which means Mark is taking the side. Mark with a Z is taking the side of CLG. Okay, lesser Mark.
Okay.
Who is the first team that will reach 5 kills in this game?
That's an easy Cloud9. But before I go, I just want to say, look at the marshmallows the production team got me. This is the normal one that you put on the end of like a stick when you're frying marshmallows.
What?
Look at this thing. What the hell is this?
That's
How many of
American
these do you
size.
think I can
It's a
fit in my
brick.
mouth?
I am so excited for you to lose this. This is going to be the greatest segment ever. Okay. But you're going with Cloud9 on this one for 5 kills. Oh, but Casual, you got your marshmallows as well, hopefully, just in case.
Yep, straight from the store. There.
All right, that's
Some
what
lovely
I like to
German
hear.
marshmallows.
Beautiful. All right, well, we've got one more bet to settle here, so we're going back to Casual. Tell us who you think ultimately takes the match. Does CLG claim victory, or will Cloud9 strike back?
I think C9 is going to take it.
I would have been concerned if you didn't pick that. So Mark's taking the side of CLG on that one. With the bets placed, the stakes set, let's turn our attention to the match ahead of us. Alorum, I'm going to turn to you, though, to walk us through this top lane matchup, Finn versus Fudge.
So Finn versus Fudge, I am going to imagine it's going to be kind of a quiet lane and not many people go to it because Fudge, while he gets ganked a lot, Finn gets almost no attention from Broxa and no attention from the enemy jungler. So if history repeats itself, Broxa will not be going top very often. That being said, Finn is very self-sufficient, and while Fudge gets ganked a lot, he is the second least deaths in the entire league, while being number 2 for the enemy top jungle proximity. So he is constantly being ganked in kind of 2v1, 3v1 situations. But when he's on that Gragas and on that Karma, he's playing really well. He's keeping his deaths low, and he knows his win condition of the team, which is when Blabber plays around the mid and bot lane. And Finn has had really standout performances, so while I don't think we'll see much action coming from the junglers and mids going top, it should be interesting to see if they both pick a weak side lane or if they both pick an aggressive lane.
Well, if you're looking at this lane as being a little bit more of an island, perhaps playing out in isolation, Mark, I'm going to turn to you then and ask how you kind of view the rest of the map, particularly from the CLG perspective with Pobelter back in the lineup.
I think it's one of those things where you would look at C9 versus CLG and say that C9 are going to have better players in most positions, but I do think CLG has been leveling up over the course of the split. They had a pretty rough start considering all the visa issues that they had, Broxa and Finn taking a while to show up, not having Pobelter in the start. Since they've had Pobelter, they're actually 3-3, so they have been doing a lot better recently, and I think that it is an area where they have been improving in their team play as well. They have been getting early leads all split long. They're just finally doing a little bit better of a job converting them, and so while, you know, obviously C9 are still going to be the favorite here, the fact that CLG does care about these wins, they do matter for their summer record, and they do look like they could become a team that actually is a bit of a threat come summer if they keep improving. I think that this could be an opportunity for CLG to find a surprise win on a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, a 500 win record team, you know, at this point is kind of fighting mid-pack. So perhaps their power level is greater than their overall record would suggest. Flipping over to the Cloud9 side, though, Cadril, we touched on it a bit earlier, but curious how you think Cloud9 might recover from what was a tough week for them last week.
So I think C9 and TSM are drafting very, very similar to Europe. So I think the C9 versus TSM game as an example was very similar to the G2 versus Misfits game on that same weekend. You can see in TSM's comp, they have Hecarim, Kai'Sa, Nautilus, whereas on the side of C9, they have the Lilia, Caitlyn, Morgana. And what they did was they level 1 invaded. They didn't get too much for it. I believe C9 did get kills for it, but Misfits, when they invaded, didn't actually get anything. They just got a split map and they got a chunk. So exact same thing happened, almost the same bot lane jungle. The solo lanes were a bit different, but now you can see the G2 Misfits drafting stream, almost the exact same. The only exception is Braum, which also does well into Nautilus and the TF. So I think that the drafts are very similar, and I like C9's playstyle. The only thing that I dislike that C9 did was they went for Gnar top, and when Fudge fell behind on Gnar because the split map, it's very hard to recover, whereas Misfits went for a Sion, and yes, Misfits lost the game, but I think the core concept is there, right? Have a weak side top, have some frontline for your Caitlyn to actually have some room in team fights. I just think the interesting thing as well is the fact that G2, with a similar draft with the jungle bot lane, they went for the TF. Now, I think TF is one of the strongest picks in Europe right now. It has a 96% presence rate in the draft, whereas over in here in NA, I've been told it's only 47%, and I think that TF is such a strong pick to unlock your side lanes, make plays happen, but I think NA likes to go for more scaling. And you saw from just level 1 itself, C9 got a huge lead. They should have snowballed, but the lack of frontline, lack of playmaking that they had, the lack of engage was just missing. And I think that having something like the Sion could have helped them a lot there, maybe taking away the Azir early on in the draft and then just not counter-picking an Azir with Victor. It doesn't really give you too much value. So I think C9 have to tweak their drafts a little bit. I think TSM have to tweak them a little bit as well when you're making playmaking. Yes, it's nice to have Azir for late game insurance, but I think that tweaking the drafts to your win conditions is the optimal play. And I think that's why Europe's just that one step ahead, but I think that these teams are obviously super, super strong.
Well, that TF point, while interesting, is almost touching on a can of worms I'm scared to open over here, because I know that we on the desk have been itching to see that pick find its way back into Champions Select a little bit more here in the LCS. Now, before we load onto the Rift, I do want to see your predictions for all 5 games today. Let's get them up on the board and see what that LEC influence has done to the predictions for today. In fact, you are the only difference in our prediction.
100 Thieves hater.
Woo!
100 Thieves hater, yeah. Well, I think when I watched 100 Thieves games, I really liked when they had Demonte on the roster. I think that Demonte was such a good playmaker for them, always pulling the TF bans, which we were just talking about, because I think in the lock-in tournament, he was just so strong on the global champs, Galio, TF, these kind of things. And I think that that is a meta. You can play that kind of meta. Yes, people do like scaling, but I think playmaking is good and you are making plays in lock-in. Why not put Demonte on things like Ryze, Lucian, Galio, these winning lanes that can move to side lane and use your mid-jungle to unlock the side lanes that 100 Thieves have in Someday in their bot lane, which is so strong. I think these two side lanes have such big CS differentials. They're winning their lanes, but the thing is, if you have winning side lanes, but you don't have a winning mid-jungle, it's really hard for your side lanes to push out and snowball, because every time they push, they get ganked by the mid-jungle. So I think 100 Thieves, with Ryoma on the roster, they haven't had as much time to prepare. I'm favoring Immortals in this game, personally, but I think just watching 100 Thieves, I think their playstyle is a bit miss and match right now. They haven't really found their flavor.
Yeah, and going back on the Twisted Fate point, pretty much every single team in NA right now plays that 5-man team fight comp. We see it on every single team, and 100 Thieves was one of the few outliers where we'll see Demonte on stuff like Galio and Twisted Fate, and they play really well around the side lanes in the early game. They're usually playing around the level 3, level 4 dives. So now that they're taking Demonte out and putting Ryoma in, we could probably expect some very similar play as to the rest of the teams in NA. We will more than likely see Ryoma on a control mage, and I think they're getting a little nervous because playoffs time is coming around next week, and they need the win. So maybe they're thinking that they can just pick a control mage for Ryoma, scale up, and out teamfight people mechanically.
Yeah, and something I saw a lot in most of the NA games, especially towards the lower end of the table, the teams like to group up a lot. Like Alarm said, they like these five-man comps, front to back, very simple, copy-paste, just engage and hit them from the backline. But I think the TF actually unlocks your side lanes a lot more. It makes it easier to just push out sides and then ult towards mid because you have that cheat card in the ultimate. And if you look at teams across the world, even like FPX, these playmaking mid jungles are just so strong with the roaming mids. Nocturne, Rumble, all these things are actually really prevalent in the meta. It's not out of the meta. Yes, it was kind of like a last year thing, but against scaling teams, if you can get an early lead, you can snowball into a winning game. And I think these champions just help you manage side waves better, which I think NA really struggles at right now.
Well, the Immortals prediction is an intriguing one simply because they are the first team on the outside of the playoff picture. So picking up a win against Immortals would do wonders in terms of pushing them towards competition for that 6th and final spot of the postseason. It's time, though, now for Cloud9 and CLG to hit the rift. So let's hand it over to the casters to get into game 1.